Hello and welcome to StroongeCast episode 29.
School holidays.
We're only one away from 30 and I think that's a great milestone.
Definitely.
I know. So, how's your week been? Mine's been busy, but yours has been busy too.
Yeah, it's been busy, but I don't really know what I've done to be busy.
That happens.
It's just, I think because the kids are excited because we are approaching a school holiday.
Segue.
Hence, yeah. So it's just been kind of a countdown, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
it does feel like it's whizzed past a bit.
But you got some nice gifts last Sunday. Where was that?
Mother's Day. Yeah.
Alice. I'm talking about Alice, not me.
Oh, no. She made me like because I'd already said I didn't want them spending their money on me, buying me presents, whatever. But she made me a cute little bunch of flowers out of paper, which was very cute.
Like
But
origami?
No, like she had rolled a piece of paper so it was like a cone and then made like little petal flowers that were at the top, which she had painted. It was very cute. She always makes me little things. She's very arty. But you had the most beautiful bunch of flowers delivered, didn't you, in the morning?
I wasn't going
sneaky.
to, but then Uber Eats kind of came up and said, you've got, a little bit longer to get something delivered. And so instead of booking food, I booked the other F, which is flowers from Sainsbury's. And
Don't make it sound less romantic.
No, not at all.
It was a big romantic gesture.
It was cool, but I didn't know it was going to turn out like that. It's quite a big bunch of flowers too. It's quite nice.
It is.
And we then had to get a vase for them because we didn't have one.
No, because we don't really do flowers, but actually having them. You've only bought me flowers one other time for my birthday.
Yeah, years ago.
For my 30th?
Could have been. Yeah, I think it was actually. It was. I went with your mum to get them.
Yeah, with the help of my mum. But otherwise, it's not something that you do or anything. But actually, having them in the house has just been so nice. So I bought a beautiful vase to put them in. And I think Alice and I have decided that that's going to be our new thing. We can have nice, fresh flowers. Yeah.
That's a nice idea. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Instead of just paper ones all the time.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right, then. So you got an answer to the last week's quiz.
Yeah.
And I believe, well, actually, you tell me the answer and I'll tell you.
Okay, so the question was, where is the strongest human muscle located?
Yeah, and I think Tara got it right. Did she? She said jaw, I believe.
It is the jaw.
The jaw, right.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Correct.
I know it can apply a lot of pound force, and other animals have even stronger jaws than we do. Lions, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Very strong.
Yeah.
And crocodiles.
Crocodiles. Even some dogs. There are some breeds of dogs that have lockjaw, which is not great, but basically means if they bite down on something, their jaw almost locks and it's very, very difficult to prise it open. So you do not want to get bitten by one of them.
No. I've heard of that before.
But yeah, all the crunching down, I suppose, on food. You need a strong muscle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that that's the one.
The jaw?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think some people would think it would be like in your legs or...
Well, yeah. I mean, imagine if you could weightlift with your jaw.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Strange one. So the question for this week.
Yes.
In 1929, what ingredient was removed from Coca-Cola?
Ah, yes. Okay, good one.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think I do know that answer.
Do you?
Possibly.
Okay.
But we'll see next week. No, not next week. I was thinking of the week after. I was going to say it's an anniversary, but it's not. Next week is gig week, and the week after that is anniversary week.
Yeah.
It's also Good Friday. But yeah. Madness. So my week, well, it was a bit less exciting than yours. I did have a rehearsal last night, which is Thursday. That was fun. And it was close to home. Most of the time I go to rehearse, it's like hours and hours away and cost a fortune to get there. But this one was like, only 4 kilometers, which was nice because it meant that my cab was not overly expensive. But I think most of the bands or most of the people I tend to work with book in like Croydon, which from Kilburn is a very long way and can cost upwards of £30 to get to. So it's nice when I don't have to spend an arm and a leg just to sit down and play music. It's been about my week, I think. I mean, yeah, it's been quiet. Or quieter, anyway. And you've been reading a good book, which you just finished.
I have, yeah. Very good book. The last two, actually, that you've recommended.
Yeah.
That I've enjoyed.
We should talk about maybe sometimes the books that we've read and tell people if they want to go read them, because it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Why don't you go in reverse order? Go in reverse order. The one you just finished and the one before that.
So the one I just finished was The Escape Room by...
L.D. Smithson, I believe.
There we go.
I found that on Kobo and I told you about it, and then you found it on Audible.
Yeah. So I don't read, like buy physical
the way that
books
I do.
And read like that. I listen to them on Audible. But yeah, so that was pretty exciting. That was one of those books that takes a little while to sort of build up. Like, you know, it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
But once it kind of gets going, that was good.
Definitely.
And I feel like The Escape Room, I mean, you kind of know it's going to be about an escape room.
Yeah.
So that one was really good. And then the one previous was... Clickbait. That was it.
That's L.C. North.
Yes.
So we had L.D. Smithson and then L.C. North.
Yeah.
Very strange.
And that was more of a social media type, but also like a thriller sort of murdery thing, I guess.
Actually, now you say that, the book I just finished this morning as well was very similar, but set in the US, whereas these two are set in the UK. And the book I finished was Follow Me by, and I text you the name of the person and I now can't remember it.
Hold on.
Elizabeth somebody.
Elizabeth Rose Quinn.
Yeah. I knew it was an unusual name. So Elizabeth Rose Quinn, Follow Me. Really good book. Highly recommended. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't think I would necessarily... I mean, it was an Amazon First Reads, right? So I just grabbed whatever seems appealing. I wasn't sure I would like a sort of American mum book, but I really did. I got into it. It was really good. That's the only way I could explain it, really, without giving away much of the plot. It's kind of about twin sisters, and something happens to one of the sisters, and the other sister has to find out how and why and what for and where. And it was good. It was genuinely good. I enjoyed it. Highly recommend that one. So that's our books. So actually, the meat and potato of today's episode, and given that it's starting on a day like today, which is half day for our children, isn't it? They're coming back in a matter of hours.
Yeah. School
holidays, and what we got up to as young ones when we had school holidays and how exciting it was. Why don't you start first? I normally start first.
Well, school holidays for us, so we would always go, well, when I was really little, we would go away for the summer to my grandpa's flat in the south of France. So we would go there for 2 or 3 weeks. And when I was a little bit older, I went out a couple of times by myself. Make it easier on my parents. Ship me off to the grandparents.
Well, how old are you talking for context? Because they may not know.
Well, the time that I went out there when I flew by myself, I think I was 7.
That's scary. Imagine putting Alice on a plane at 7.
Yeah, I know. Well, it was through British Airways, so they had like a specialist, like a companion person. So you would get dropped off by your parents this end.
Yeah.
And you would be put in a special lounge and go through, and somebody would be with you the whole time. Or at least know where you were. So you weren't just like randomly in the airport, but you didn't have somebody sat next to you the whole time.
Were you nervous?
I assume so. I don't really remember. But knowing like how shy child I was, I must have been. Then they would put you on the plane in your seat. You'd be in the aisle seat so they could keep an eye on you. And the stewardesses would be told. They would then come and sort of check on you every now and then. But it wasn't a hugely long flight. It was like an hour and a half to the south of France.
Yeah.
So it's not too long. And then they would take you off the other end, and my grandparents would be at the in the arrivals, and they'd hand you over.
Oh,
and that was it. So, I don't remember a huge amount about it. And then I went just when it was just my grandpa. I think I was 12, 13, I think, just with him in the summer.
Yeah.
Then other holidays, other school holidays, we would go and visit my mum's friend in Cheltenham.
Yes. Big house in the country.
Like similar kids our ages. So that was always really fun because we would go to the farms, and you know how much I love animals. So we would always do that kind of thing. Other holidays, we would just be, school holidays, we would be at home a lot because my mum was working and my dad was the one that was at home with us.
Yes.
And he is not like an outdoorsy parent. So he would never take us to the park or anything like that. Like, that is not his thing at all.
I'm not much of an outdoorsy parent either, to be fair.
But for different reasons.
Yeah.
So we would be home a lot then. But we were talking about this the other day, weren't we? That we would spend holidays or days or whatever going and playing out with our friends.
Oh, yeah.
From like 8 years old, 8, 9, 10, just down on the estate playing in the little parks that they always have and stuff. So we used to do that quite a lot as well, which is very different to our children now.
Yes, I can remember going to my mum's friend's house, if you will. I mean, she was our friend too, but we knew her through this friend. And her kids would all play in the street. And I'm pretty sure back then that this street didn't have sleeping policemen at all. It was never a noisy street, but I remember one time, for example, it was a very hot day and we'd gone up there to see them and have fun. And my mum and ladies were talking in the house, as mums do. And I was outside in the street with the kids. And all the doors on that street were open, or pretty much all of the doors. And because the houses felt alike to me, it was a case that I walked into the wrong house. Didn't know that until I was about 20 steps in or something. House didn't quite seem right, didn't quite smell right. It was a weird one. And I was confused, to be honest. But it turned out that I was like one house over. So it wasn't a mirror image, but it was close enough. And I didn't twig that for a while. And then I looked at the front door. And I mean, they were all nice about it. I think all the kids did that a lot, to be honest. They walked in and out of each other's houses because they all knew each other on the street. But, I wouldn't want my kids doing that these days. It's just sad how times have changed. And in this case, not for the better, I think.
Well, yes and no. Only because I'm sure that we put ourselves in situations that were probably more dangerous than our parents would have liked. Yeah. So at least we're preventing things like that from happening with our children. But I agree, the thought of our kids, even just in the communal garden next door when they were little,
which you could even see over the wall, but we just never let them.
We never did. And mainly I know a lot of the kids that were out, because do you remember there used to be that boy that used to come and say, can Jake come and play out? And I would always say no. Now, Jake never wanted to. He didn't particularly like these kids.
Yeah.
So he never asked to. It was never an issue. But I always said no anyway. They were getting into trouble. Their parents were not keeping track on where they were. They were all around, there's several blocks, isn't there, around us,
Yep.
with sort of like a few little parks in between and a couple of roads and stuff. They are just getting into mischief, and that's not something that we wanted to encourage or allow.
And Alice never really asked anyway.
Alice never asked, and I think we 100% would have said no because she's a girl.
Yep.
And we've already talked, haven't we, on a previous episode about the difference between boys and girls, and that
it's
just wouldn't
almost
have
a hypocrisy, but it's
Absolutely,
not something I'm ever going to change.
But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, so that's just not a thing. But
no.
But yeah.
Well, my holidays were between two different schools because until after 1991, so in the middle of 1992, I went away to boarding school. So my holidays changed a lot. And the things that I did, well, kind of changed, but not necessarily. So before boarding school, I was at day school, of course, and holidays were kind of an extension of most of my evenings at home because I would come home every evening. It was sort of going and seeing family and being taken to the park by my mom and stuff because I was still young then. And that was good fun. I can't remember the difference between school holidays when I was at day school, but I can remember the difference between holidays when I was at boarding school because they meant a lot more to me, I think. So coming home from boarding school was always an exciting time because the last day of school, you ended at the normal time, but if you were of a certain age, you could take a train home that day. And after I got into probably year 10 or 11, I did that. But before that, you were taken on what we called the London train. It was all in caps, right? The next day, a teacher would give up their early morning because I do believe the train was at like 7:56 in the morning. So all the kids that were London bound would have an exciting night, and it was all exciting. You'd pack and you'd do all the things the night before. You'd have your last dinner at the school.
When you call it the London train, it sounds like something like Hogwarts,
Like what?
Like Hogwarts.
Like Hogwarts. So it kind of was.
London-bound train.
It was London-bound, yeah. It was from Worcester to London.
It
was
sounds
two hours long trip. It was great fun. But if you had friends in the same house, for example, if you wanted to, you normally you would have sleepovers and things. So I'd have sometimes a sleepover with my friend who lived in a different room in the same house, and we'd talk most of the night. And because there was no lessons, the house parents didn't care, so it was really fun. And you'd get up at 6 o'clock, you'd get ready, you'd have breakfast nice and early, and then you'd be taken on the school bus to the train station. There are 2 train stations in Worcester at that time. There's 3 now, I think. So it would either be, actually it was always Worcester Shrub Hill, which is the quieter station. Worcester Foregate Street is up the line and is in town, but Shrub Hill, I think maybe it was easier for them to park a big school bus and let a bunch of kids out. So they did that, and we'd all get on the platform, and we'd wait for the train to come in, and there was a teacher, as I say, that would escort all of us. And what they would do is they would drop us off at with our parents, and then the teacher would probably go shopping and get some stuff that they might want in London, then take whatever train back. We never knew, but it was just so nice to see our parents, so we didn't care. So, yeah, we would all basically take up probably nearly all the carriage at one point. It dwindled off in later years, of course, as people got older, and you'd make your own way there and back. And I did that a lot, and I got used to the route. But in the early days, because I left, what people may not know is I left home at 9 years old. So 92, I was 9. You can tell you my age from this. So in those early days, they didn't want anybody just on the train for an entire long time like that. It's longer than your plane flight. And, there are stops as well, so anything could happen. So they made sure that we were all right. But the reason I mentioned this so much is because I remember the excitement of pulling into London Paddington and getting off. And my mum would be right at trackside ready to greet me. And, when you hadn't seen your mum for 4 to 6 weeks at a time, it was a huge deal.
Seems so crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was. So it was always a massive excitement. And to make sure you get all your bags off the train and everything. And, I'd get told off because my hair was a mess. I hadn't been able to cut it in that long, and I wasn't keeping it well combed. I should have been, but I was a kid and I didn't care. So it was an immediate trip to the barbers nearly every time we come home. My mum didn't like to see me like that.
Wow.
So yeah, she was like, "Oh, Andre, your hair's a mess. Can you not keep it, combed for once?" Straight in with the mum talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, often we drop our bags off and straight out again, and then to the barbers, and then I could enjoy my holiday. And it was lovely. She'd take me to museums, we'd see family. And I want to say 1996 was a particularly interesting year because, for Easter holiday anyway, I think it was Easter Sunday of 96, the TV channel, Channel 5 started. And I had a pocket TV at the time. They were all the rage at that point. You may have even had one. I don't know if you had one when you were a kid, did you?
I didn't have one, no.
They were fun, You could watch TV anywhere. And because this is before the days of a lot of people having VHS recorders and what have you, being able to just watch your program on the bus or in the back of a car was really, really fun. So we were at the bus stop. I specifically remember this. We were at the bus stop watching the countdown to 6 p.m. when Channel 5 went live. And of course, back then there was nothing audio described. So my mum was describing to me that the clock was counting down and it was looking all cool and fancy. And we got on the bus to go see my uncle, who made his very signature macaroni cheese, which I love. and I miss. So yeah, we'd come home only a few days before Easter holiday started that year. Different holidays were quite different. So for example, Christmas was always cold, getting off the train, and if your mum wasn't there or your parent wasn't there, you'd be waiting around a bit, and Paddington is very cold at those times.
Yeah.
And also waiting for the train in Worcester, even colder because it's country. And we often got there quite early. So you can imagine waiting at the train station was just quite an ordeal sometimes. And you'd have to kind of jump up and down to keep warm. But one of the most interesting experiences I think I had was being on the train and being hungry. And I may have told this story already, but I think that was the year that I didn't have any breakfast, or there was no cereal left in the house because it was the last day and they just didn't get anything in for the students. And I was hungry. And you could go to the buffet car, and I did that. And what they had was a chicken tikka masala at 8 o'clock in the morning on a train to London. So of course I had chicken tikka masala at 8 o'clock on a train to London, and I loved it. And it was the first time I'd ever had something like that so early, but no judgments, no regrets.
When you're hungry, you just need to be fed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And going back was quite similar. I mean, end of holiday, right? So in the early days, 9, 10, 11, 12 kind of times, all the mums, the London mums, they knew each other because most of them would be standing waiting for their kids to get off the train. So they got to make friends, they got to know each other really well. And there was a waiting room for that platform, I'm pretty sure. So going and coming, you would meet all these parents and all these younger siblings and stuff. We got to know some of the younger siblings and be like, oh, how's your sister? How's your brother? Yeah, So you get to know all these parents, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
And occasionally, if a mum, say, would come up the night before or the day of, and we were given our train tickets beforehand. So if you wanted, or if a parent was going back to London or going the same way, for example, I used to room with a friend of mine called Sebi, and his mum was completely deaf, right? And Sebi's completely blind. So he had to know sign language. And she would sign on the back of his hand to talk to her. It was really cool. Yeah, and I got to know her. I mean, I never really got to talk to her directly, but if I spoke slowly and she was Turkish, she could lip read. And so I don't know how it got arranged. Maybe my mum called her or some kind of an interpreter thing happened. I don't remember exactly. But let's say we were leaving on the Friday morning, yeah, which is normal. Mm-hmm. I think his mum came up on the Thursday evening and he was going home the day before. And so it was kind of last minute, do you want to come home with us? And so I did that. So I went on the train with his mum instead, and my mum met me at the station. And it was cool because it was, quite a few hours early. Yeah. I got one more night to my own bed. Yay. And actually, that's another thing. You get home after such a long time away. Your room just feels so magical. Your own bed. You wake up in the morning. You don't have to go to school. You can get breakfast when you want. So school holidays meant so much, especially to boarding school students. So it was really nice.
It must have been really hard then going back, though.
Oh, the pain.
Oh.
Honestly, it was when I was younger, it was much harder, of course. As I got older, it was not so bad. Yeah. But I just remember being young, just bawling my eyes. I don't want to go back. It's so long distance. It's horrible. Yeah. Don't put your kids through that if you can help it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say I don't regret it because I learned a lot, and I got a lot out of being at boarding school. But it was really hard until it wasn't. It maybe took 2 or 3 days to settle back in at school, but my goodness, the going back was hard. And for the parents too, you could tell it was hard for the parents. It was not fun.
Yeah, I don't think I would be strong enough to do that with ours.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that now. But, in a few years, it wouldn't be a holiday, but I'm sure one of ours will be moving out. That'll be hard too.
Yeah, we prefer not to think about that. We won't go there just yet.
But I used to do some crazy stuff on school holidays. And also, because it was boarding school, it would not always be a holiday that I would leave. My dad would sometimes come and get me because he drove and would pick me up on a Friday and bring me back on a Sunday. So I used to have a lot of fun with my dad as well. And sometimes he'd get my other brother, Dwayne. So I'd get to see him throughout the year at different times. So, yeah, sometimes I'd be in London for, let's say, Friday night, Saturday night, 2 nights and back to Worcester. Again, also quite difficult, but when it happened, it was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
Get to see the other side of the family. Oh, man. Many crazy things. Many crazy things. I never got left on a train. I never missed my stop. But my bag did. I didn't realize exactly where I was. And in those days, it sounds ridiculous when I say that, 30 plus years ago now, but in those days, the trains did not speak at each station. There were no automated announcements. So sometimes the guard or driver would come on and tell you, but sometimes they'd forget. And the station before where I was going to get off, it might have been Evesham. I went to the toilet on the train and I was there a bit longer. I know that's terrible. And my bag stayed on the train and I got out. So it went away without me. And then we had to call lost property and get my bag back a week later. Everything was still in it, by the way, which was nice. And it was only my toiletry bag, thankfully. But yeah, that was the one and only time that happened.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and it was going to school, not from school.
Oh no.
Because had it been at Paddington, that wouldn't have happened because my mum would have been like, where's your bag?
Yeah,
but the train does not stop where I stop. It goes all the way to Hereford, which is about another 45 minutes up the line. Yeah.
Do you remember when the kids were little? Like the holidays when they were, little children? Do you remember much about it? No.
Do I remember?
Not really.
I'm trying to think, because they would have both been in either nursery or primary school, and you sometimes would take them away, but not all the time.
Only in this, yeah. We would only ever go away in the summer. We didn't really ever go away any other time.
I know
any other holidays.
That there was a time you would take Jake to soft play and flip out, particularly, I believe it was.
Yeah, we used
like
to.
That.
Yeah, I mean, when they were little, I used to have I remember it being quite stressful, thinking and planning of things to do with them. I remember.
I think my mum could relate to that.
Yeah, I'm sure most mums can, to be fair. Like for the summer holidays, which just feel like they go on forever. That's 6 weeks. And sometimes it's, nearly 7 weeks. It just feels endless of trying to think of things to do, whether that's in the house, out of the house, and financially, that's a really big thing. Never mind the money side, but our kids were never interested in sort of going to those, put together camps and football clubs or sports clubs or whatever it might have been. They never wanted to do that. So I remember making for the summer like a calendar to try and plan out different things that we were going to do, and I would write lists and lists of activities that we could do, just to kind of have some vague control, an idea of what we could do each day.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of museums. We used to go a lot to the free museums.
Museums are fun.
Yeah, and particularly when Alice didn't need a buggy, that was a lot easier. So we would do that. Lots of playground, picnics in the park and things. And yeah, lots of, games and stuff at home. I think because, like we said before, when we were little, our parents just used to say, okay, bye, send us off out.
Yeah.
We've not had that. We don't do that now. And for a long time, we didn't have the garden. So
no, this is true.
When they were really, really little. So we would have to go over to the parks and stuff. But yeah, it's funny. I just remember then being really looking forward to them going back to school. Not in a nasty way. Not like, oh God, I don't want to be with my kids anymore. But, just okay, that's enough now.
Rest.
Yeah. And, they're younger, they argue, they bicker, and you're having to sort of
mediate.
Do a lot more. And particularly the 2 weeks holidays or the long stint in the summer. But now I prefer them being on holiday. I get used to them being around and the routine is different, but it's nice and we get to hang out with them. And I'm a bit sad when they go back to school after the holidays, I think.
This is true.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't remember any of it, but I feel like I remember Alice's younger years less than Jake's. Really weird. I mean, it was closer. You'd think I would know better, but short-term memory is terrible.
Well, when Jake was really little, like, the first 3 years, it was just him.
Yeah.
As you go on, we get more sleep deprived.
That's probably why.
It's harder to remember things.
I literally can't remember anything. It's weird.
I'm sure you could if you just
Jog
need the
my
memory. Yeah.
I know.
Trigger those memories.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were just talking about the other day, for example, that when we moved here, there were 6 and 3. Tiny.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
No, they were very, very small, and now they're very, very big. Or at least Jake is.
Yeah.
Alice is getting there. She's finally tipped over the 5-foot mark.
Oh, right.
Which she's very proud of. She's almost 5'1".
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she comes from tall stock on both sides. She will be tall.
Yeah.
I think she'll be willowy. Which would be fun.
Yeah.
But what about holidays these days? It's different now. They're older.
Well, that's what I mean. It's so much easier. I always try and plan like a few things for us to do together, but I want to spend more time. Not that I didn't want to then, but now it's different in that, Jake isn't really interested in doing the sorts of things that we did before, and not really the kind of things that Alice and I would do. So when I do get to spend the day with him, or we do something all together, I think I treasure those moments so much more.
Yeah.
Because it's so much rarer. So he'll go and hang out with his friends. Actually, this holiday, the next 2 weeks, are going to be a little bit different in that he has his mock GCSEs as soon as they go back to school. So really, he needs to be concentrating a lot on revision and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll kind of, I do naturally spend more time with Alice. Because,
well, it works out because I tend to naturally spend more time with Jake.
Yeah, because of interests.
I've got things I'm taking him to.
Absolutely. And I don't know anything about computers. I can't do computery things with him and have those kind of discussions and stuff. That's what you do.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you did get a laptop.
Yes.
You do have a laptop now.
Yes, I do.
Which you did not expect.
No. You came back one evening with this laptop.
Left it on the table.
You and Jake have been doing what you do.
Making it work.
Computery things.
Yeah. Well, the hope is that you'll actually be able to find time to use it and type things and find it beneficial. Because certain things just you can't really do on a phone. Phone browsers are only so good.
Yeah.
But this will help. So yeah, I nabbed her a computer. It was a gift. I always say that computing, when you set up a computer for the first time, it's like moving house. You've got to kind of make it your own and make all the spaces and all the rooms comfy and put down the right carpets and wallpapers and things. Because it makes it feel more like, I can use this now.
Yeah.
So when my computer died last year and I was basically living out of a virtual machine, it was like living out of a suitcase until I got it nice and homely again. It took me a while. I was without a main computer for like over 4 weeks. I did not enjoy that. Yeah. So Jake and I are going to my friend's on Sunday to maybe collect some things or at least look at some other things, and that's good. And then the Friday after this one, so next week Friday, I'm taking him to a gig. He likes coming to my gigs when I play, whenever he's off anyway and can. Sometimes they fall on a school night or whatever, so it's not easy. But whenever he can, he likes coming to the gigs. Primarily, like me, for the food. And we're playing in a vegan cafe. So I'm going to expose him to vegan food. And
but
because
good vegan food.
Really good. Because he's like me, he's a meaty. He does not like veggie stuff. But I can assure him, and he'll be very shocked, at just how good vegan food has become. So I think we'll come back with some interesting news. And one day when Jake and I went out, we accidentally ended up eating at a vegan cafe anyway and didn't know it till after we got home.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh my gosh. Funny. It was funny. We were both sort of almost horrified, but it was so good that it didn't matter anyway.
So good that you didn't even realise.
Right. That's a testament to how interesting it was. So that was an experience. I don't think I have anything else planned. I mean, it's Easter holiday, so actually there's going over to your parents, which is another tradition, isn't it? Like Christmas.
For Easter Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, Easter Sunday.
Yeah, we'll be having... But that's, a couple of weeks away. But yeah.
Yeah.
We will be going over there. The kids and I are planning a trip to the zoo next week.
Okay.
And the weather is finally, really springing. So
spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung properly because we had a few glimpses, but it's absolutely gorgeous. So I think we'll be hopefully trying to do lots of dog walks and stuff like that, just being outside, which would be nice.
And there seems to be a bird that lives in or near the garden. Very noisy.
There are a lot of birds out there, but there is one particular bird, isn't there?
Yep.
I don't know what it is.
Have you ever seen it? You
No.
just hear it.
No, because if anything comes near the garden, Penny scares it off.
Yeah, but it's probably perched on the house somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
She can't get to it.
It's not one of the big birds.
No, it's a tiny songbird.
Yeah, but it is very jolly.
Talkative. Very talkative, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
And I think Alice and I will probably go back to the pottery cafe where you can paint.
Oh, yeah.
Because we really enjoyed that.
Nice.
So, yeah.
The bird is
we'll find things.
talking to you right now.
It is.
It's tweeting.
It is.
But we don't
Not
do Twitter.
Xing.
Not Xing, no. None of that.
Whatever the term is.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just gotten a notification from Amazon that my tea has been dispatched. Good. I like these ginger honey crystals natural tea, and I ran out, and it was going to take several weeks to come. It may still. I didn't hear the full notification, but I miss not having them because I like to have them every now and then, and just going to arrive at some point. Good. Miss my tea. Haven't ordered anything from Amazon in a while because there's been nothing I want apart from a new computer.
Typical.
Yes, I know. Anyway, that's us, isn't it? Well, actually, it's not. You've got
a very, very quick, silly news story.
And you came up with a great title for the segment.
Strunge News.
Yes.
To really think about this. Now, this is an old story, but I came across it and I just thought it just made me laugh. So, yeah, it's not current, I'm afraid. But it is about a cashmere goat called William Windsor I, or Billy, who was demoted from his rank as a lance corporal to the Fusilier due to inappropriate behaviour during the Queen's official birthday celebrations in 2006, where he failed to keep in step and tried to headbutt a drummer. And there's a picture of him, which I will send to you, which you can attach, because, yeah, he looks like he's got a bone to pick with this drummer.
I've got a bone to pick with you, mate.
Yeah.
That was a terrible dad joke.
Yes, it was.
Okay, I think
but that's
that,
okay. He was charged with unacceptable behaviour, lack of decorum, and disobeying a direct order.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know goats could even accept direct orders.
Well, he didn't.
Clearly not. So I guess it's telling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you goat. Right.
There
okay.
you go.
I'm literally done now. I think you've all had enough of me. Thanks for listening. If you're new, welcome to the show. Should always say that at the beginning, and I never remember because I'm old. If you're old, welcome back. And we'd like to hear from you, so leave us a message if you like via the contact form, via YouTube comments, however you like. It would be nice to catch up. And tell us about your school holiday memories. I'm sure you have a few of them, as I did. Lots, actually. But yeah, this has been fun. We will see you in a week.
Bye.
This time, you and I are going to talk about the end credits, because I want to tell you something yesterday that happened to me. What happened to me yesterday was that I was coming back in the car from rehearsal, and we have a bass player who's only 26, and he was telling us that lots of musicians in his age bracket go to therapy. Now, that in itself is not too interesting, but what I think is interesting is that he comes from a household that is stable. He was not, hurt as a child or anything like that. He's a happy guy. He's a really good bass player. He seems well-rounded. But he's paying £250 a month for twice weekly sessions.
Wow.
Right.
It's a lot of money, isn't it?
And both the percussionist and I were like, my guy, you are straight and white and quite normal. And the percussionist has known him since he was an absolute child and knows both his parents. And I said to him, is this something that you found on Instagram or TikTok? Where's this come from? And why are you doing it? Never really got a straight answer. So he lies down on this couch and the voice comes from behind his head and talks to him about something psychometric, I think. And I wondered if you'd heard of this, because none of the musicians I've talked to in their 20s have ever mentioned that they all go to therapy. I think. And he said, he's never got any money. I said, well, you're spending it all on therapy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's better than spending it on cigarettes and drugs, but really, this is not okay.
No, I mean, therapy is much more widely used now. Maybe it's a thing amongst musicians. I wouldn't know. I don't know any other musicians.
Right, but the thing I think I was concerned about is that maybe he saw others do it and decided that he had to do it too, like an in thing.
I think, though, you do have to be understanding that you can come from a great background, a great family, and you can outwardly appear to be very happy and secure in yourself and everything, and outwardly portray that there are no problems. And you can look at someone and say, well, your life seems great. Why would you need therapy? You don't know what's going on inside. And that is a big thing. So, you know, some people do find it hard to talk about issues or whatever, apart from to a complete stranger, which is why therapy, you know, is so helpful. So there may be issues, there may be things, you know, that he feels that just having that outlet, that release a couple of times a month just helps keep him balanced.
We were asking him some questions, right? So, for example, have you lost anybody? Have you had any serious accidents? Like both the percussionist and I, we lost different parents. He lost his dad, I've lost my mum. And I talked to you, and you were my rock in times of strife. And I needed that. If I didn't have that, maybe I would have been in therapy. But I had you. And it was surprising how very normal this guy was.
But you don't have to have had
No, I know.
a trigger in that sense. It can be, you know, people can suffer with depression and not
we asked him that
have
too.
a reason.
Because we care, right? It wasn't that we were trying to judge him. We care.
No.
And we were like concerned that, are you doing this because other people are doing it? That's not a good reason to do anything.
And what did he say? I know you said he didn't say like a straight answer. But
Not really. No. And I think that's interesting. Because if you are gigging and trying to make ends meet and dropping that much on something like this, and you don't absolutely need it, but maybe you want it, want isn't need. I was trying to find a way, both myself and you know, percussionist, trying to find a way to tell him that maybe this isn't good for him, and in a nice way.
Yeah. No, I understand that. And it does just sound like you guys are just looking out for him. But I suppose it's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't know what's going on in his head or any of that stuff.
Headspace is a difficult one, isn't it? Headspace.
Exactly. And, you know, people are very good at hiding how they feel and, you know, other things that are going on in their life. So I guess what sounds strange, I mean, I don't know, but the lying down on a bed and having someone sit behind you seems like quite an old-fashioned way of therapy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was sitting behind or if it's like a talking through a microphone.
But even the lying down, I didn't even know that.
This is what I'm saying. This whole
therapy like that anymore.
This whole thing seems quite odd to us. We were really surprised that it was the way that he portrayed it was very different than we would have expected.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's actually a proper outfit. And it just concerns me that he's gigging and then dropping that much money on this twice weekly, not even weekly.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, some people do put more value into certain aspects of their life. You know, there's a big thing that I've been hearing a lot about, like couples therapy. A lot of people will start having couples therapy before they've even got married. to sort of,
Wow.
not because there's an issue, but to make sure that they have the correct tools and that they're on the right, on the same page and all of that before anything, starts, so that they are starting their marriage, their long-term life together in the best possible way that they can.
I find that interesting. I find it sort of, and I haven't been there, so I'm only going on what I feel. And it's a judgment call, right?
Yeah.
And this will sound judgmental. And
No,
I
go
freely
on.
admit that. But I find that to be like Valentine's Day, that you need someone else to tell you how to live your best life with your own partner, whereas talking it out should achieve similar results. I didn't do that with you. We talked it out and we made sure that we could communicate with each other in a way that was healthy and safe for each of us.
We did, but it took a long time for us to come to that and I'm not saying, had we had couples therapy to begin with, I mean, we never would have, but because back then I don't think, unless, you did have some kind of major disaster in your relationship, I don't think people really did then. But it's just, I think, more about trying to make sure that your relationship is the healthiest it can be.
Yeah. Because
so many marriages do fail, and it can be quite difficult if you wait until you're in a position where you're saying, we're at breaking point here. We need to seek help. That can be quite hard to then unpick all of those problems.
Yes.
Whereas if you have, said, right, you've spoken to somebody who is, what's the word? Neutral.
Mm-hmm.
They can kind of give you ideas, I guess, of actually you do need to listen to each other and starting it off like that. I totally get what you're saying, and it's not something that I think.
How would you have felt had we done that, do you think? Because you've mentioned it, so it's an opportunity and an option. But would you have felt
I don't think I would have felt like we needed it.
Right.
For me.
To me, it feels almost like cheating. And again, this is a pre-judgment call. I'm only going on how I feel, not the actual facts. And I just stress that.
Yeah.
But for me, personally, with you, I would have felt like if I needed someone else to tell me how to communicate with you, I was basically a loser husband. And I don't want that. And I wouldn't have accepted that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think that's a difficult one, because obviously we've been married for so long now.
It's hard to remember those
I don't
days.
know how I would have felt. Probably, just caught my foot on a cable. I honestly, I don't know. I mean, we've talked about therapy only in view of, we've said, if we were ever in a position where we were having real troubles, that we would, do everything that we could before we ended anything.
Right.
And that would include therapy. We've never, I don't think, even ever been close to that.
No, not once. And I'm glad for that. I mean, we've been together a long time. We could have been over the years several times, but we've never ever experienced that.
We've never been close to, anything quite so serious like that.
Do you ever feel like a veteran when you look around you and you see all these people that start relationships and end them before we've even blinked?
And we're just here almost celebrating.
Trucking along.
What? 16?
It will be 16 next
16 years.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
16 years of marriage.
But yeah, I mean, I think therapy is an interesting one. I think that if you've never had therapy, it's difficult to understand actually
the value of it.
Yeah, and how cathartic it can be. Just being able to talk to somebody who's just listening a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless you're seeing a therapist for a very specific, type of therapy, like CBT and stuff like that, where they are actually teaching you different techniques and ways. Just having somebody to talk to and say, this is hard, that's hard. Just sort of talk through your thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
Is very helpful. And it's not always easy to talk to the people around you.
No, it isn't.
People can say to you, well, you can always come and talk to me, but that's not actually easy.
Because they know you, and they would probably give you unsolicited advice.
Well, there's that. And also, you don't want to offend people or upset people or put your problems on them. Or sometimes you actually don't want someone to suggest something to fix that, because there is no fix. Your feelings just need to be heard. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't always make sense.
Which is what you said in your specific episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So I mean, I would hope that that's why he's doing it, because maybe he has some feelings or thoughts or whatever that he finds difficult to cope with.
Right.
But I agree, it is a huge amount of money to be spending on something that you may not necessarily need.
That's my fear.
Yeah.
And if music is very fickle, right? I speak from experience. If you don't get gigs for a period of weeks and you run out, you may feel bereft of this thing, this potential, and I only say potential because I don't know, addiction to something that others have, and you have to be seen to be having it too. And then that in itself is cause for concern and anxiety. And I just, I worry.
Yeah.
The father in me worries.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But there you go. End segment. Bit of an unusual one, but I think I just wanted to ask you about it because you're very sensible and you are my advisor.
Try to be.
You succeed a lot. That's why I love you for many reasons, but one of the many why I do.
No.
Right. Bye-bye.